Hello world, this is, today is, what's the date?
July 14th?
July 14th, 2016, and we are at the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Youth One-Stop Affiliate, and we're talking about the future and your future, specifically regarding employment. So you should have two pieces of paper to take notes on, and the expectation is that you'll have 2 pages worth of notes. You can decide whether you want to write really big and fill them up quickly or reasonably sized. So let me see if I can get a little better lighting here. So my name is Edward Bevilacqua, and I am an instructor at a school called Larson Training Centers. Larson Training Centers is a licensed post-secondary school. What's post-secondary?
After high school? If you didn't graduate high school?
No.
For adults?
It's after high school, post-secondary. So vocational schools are all post-secondary, college, post-secondary. So we are a school that, if you put your email in that, so we are a school that teaches people how to do customer service, administrative, sales and marketing and accounting positions. And we focus on the cloud. We have the highest placement rate in the state of Nevada at over 85%. Hello, how are you? Welcome back. Good to see you.
All right, you?
Let's see, how about dragging, how about trading chairs, and then you want to sit back there? Is that good? Let's see, what was your name again?
Dell.
Dell. Dell's been here before, but it hasn't been for a long time. In fact, I think we were in the other room, weren't we?
Yeah, we were over there.
Okay, anyway, so we focus on customer service, administration, accounting, sales, and marketing. This isn't important, but it's something important, I'll tell you. There's about over an 85% placement rate, highest placement rate in the state. And it's because we teach people how to use the cloud. What's the cloud?
Where you save the save.
Okay, good, pretty good. So one of the things is it's a place to save your documents. So we teach people how to use the cloud. And everybody in here should become an expert at the cloud. This is your opportunity where you should have an advantage over other people. But that's what we do at Larson. We use the Google Cloud. This thing we're doing here right now is called a Hangout on Air with Google. So what it is it's a live broadcast for the whole world. Anybody in the whole world could be watching this. Go to Google Plus, and there'll be a list of Hangouts. There'll be a button that says Hangouts on Air. You click on that, it shows you all the Hangouts on Air that are going on in the world, and you click on one of them, and you could be watching it live. When it's over, it automatically goes to YouTube. So how could that be used by a business?
Like advertising their company.
Okay, are you Tim?
DeMonte Lewis.
DeMonte, okay, so let me get this, okay. Katora, Galvon. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out the order you meant. Okay, so here, Tim, back there, here, Daniel, and Dell. Okay, it's going to be tough. Okay. Okay, so one thing would be advertising. Okay, what's another thing that businesses could use this for?
Marketing.
Okay, what does marketing mean to you?
Marketing is like, say if you're like a product, and there's like a shopping, like it's like basically it's a list of things for the market. Basically, you're selling it to the market for the people to get it.
Okay, So marketing is good. The hard thing I have is when somebody says marketing and they talk about selling and they use the word advertising, I'm not sure what that means. But you're on the target, so that's a good answer. Okay, marketing is one purpose for this. What's another purpose that companies could use Hangouts on Air for?
Sponsors.
How? That seems like a Hail Mary pass.
Not quite sure.
Okay, all right. So let me just make you guys feel at ease a little bit. So one of the things you're very lucky about being here today is because the Southern Nevada Regional Housing does this. And they believe in programs for helping youth and other people. So you could look at it as, well, I gotta go to this thing because I can't get something else unless I go. You can choose to do that. They don't look at it that way. They're not doing this of, well, what can we do to make people do things so we look good? Okay, they have good intentions and it's a good thing. The other reason you're very lucky this is a great day is because I'm here. And I can assure you that if we were at UNLV or the Boyd School of Law or CSN or anywhere else in the state of Nevada, you would not have a better instructor than me. Okay, somebody that's as knowledgeable. So I was born in Oakland. Anybody from Oakland? Anybody from California? What part?
Los Angeles.
What part?
East Side.
What part? What city? Carson?
Los Angeles.
Oh, East LA?
No, more South
Where are you
Central.
from? Oh, South Central, okay. You're from there too? Okay. Do you guys know where Boyle Heights is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I have a friend there that has a thing called Homeboy Industries.
I've heard of it, actually.
Okay, good. So I was born in Oakland, grew up in the Bay Area, went to a good school. Does anybody know Steve Nash?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So he went to the same school I went to, same university, called what? Santa Clara. Okay. And the governor of California went to Santa Clara. The lieutenant governor of California went to Santa Clara. The head of UC, University of California system, went to Santa Clara with me. Before that, her name's Janet Napolitano. Has anybody ever heard that name? Okay, so she was head of Homeland Security. Anybody ever hear of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. And before that, she was the governor of Arizona. And before that, she went to Santa Clara with me. And her dad went to Santa Clara with my dad. Her dad went to high school with my dad. So Santa Clara is a small school that has a disproportionate amount of people who do well. And then I went to law school in San Diego. So I have a law degree. My undergraduate degree is in finance. One of my courses of study in college was Roman history. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But I want you to feel rest assured, whatever I tell you today is absolutely true. It's a thing you can take to the bank, remember it, use it in your future. Okay?
You studied Greek mythology as well?
Well, mainly Roman mythology, but just a little bit. And Roman mythology basically came
Greek
from
mythology roams in there with Rome.
Correct. The Romans took a lot of their mythology from
Latin.
Well, Latin is a different language, but yeah. So good. So you know Greek mythology? Do you play any games on the computer?
Greek, Roman, from all the way to all of Europe.
Perfect. So we're gonna have a good conversation today, and everybody else is gonna get to take advantage of it.
They're gonna look at us like, huh?
Correct. Okay. So that's a little bit about who I am, why this is going to be so good, why we're recording it. And just to finish up on Larson, well, I said we have an 85% placement rate, which is the highest in the state. What I didn't say is who our students are. So our students, so in the mornings from 8 o'clock till noon, I teach inside of the prison. So we have a campus inside of a prison. So our students are all prisoners. They're state in prison, not jail, prison. And So if we can help people who are in prison have an 85% job placement, do you think we can help you? Okay, so we can. Now, who in here has a high school diploma? Okay. GED, where are you in the thing? Working on your still?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dell, you started your own school, right?
Huh?
Nothing.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm lacking a bit of money.
Okay, good. So, anybody here have any college? Okay, how much?
15 credits, but I was going for the EMT program.
Okay. Where'd you go to high school?
SNRHA Memorial High School.
Okay. That's not the special school for like EMT, it's veterans, I think, right? Veterans Memorial or something?
Yeah, it's just
Regular high school. Okay, good. And so where are you going to school?
CSN right now, but I took a semester off this spring, but I'm kind of like a sophomore / junior, I guess.
Okay, all right. So, one of my partners, and a guy who's been here a couple times, were you here when he was here?
I mean, who was it?
Okay, does anybody know the game Pong? If I say Pong, does that have any meaning? What?
Not like, it's not, they were named the same thing, they were different from like ping pong, but Pong was something much different.
Okay, what was Pong?
Just that game where it's just like 2 sliders and
Okay.
8 balls.
What's the significance of Pong?
Competitive game against your friends.
Well, it was the first successful coin-operated video game.
Was made by an Asian culture.
False. Good guess. Why did you say Asian culture?
Well, I was reading about it one time that, because it was one of the resemblance that started like Pac-Man.
Okay, this is before Pac-Man. Oops, my
Yeah,
portal's being attacked.
but it was the starting going up to it.
Okay, so Pong, does anybody know Asteroids?
Yes.
Centipede? Battlezone?
Yes.
What company made those?
Just said
Atari. Oh, right.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Atari is a Japanese word. Maybe that's why you're thinking Asian. Atari is a Japanese word. So the guy who started Atari was here. We brought him here 2 times. He's my partner, a partner of mine in a business here in Las Vegas. His name is Nolan Bushnell. And the thing about Atari was it was a guy who had an idea. He was in college in Utah, grew up in Utah, started out Mormon, but then he became a non-Mormon. And he worked in an amusement park. So he saw these coin-operated games, skee ball, pinball machines, and things like that. But he was going to college at the University of Utah, and there, this is back in the early 60s, they had a supercomputer. One of the first 50 schools that had, university that had, not supercomputer, mainframe computer. And there was a game on that called Space Wars. And Nolan will tell the story of when he saw that, he said, you know what, if I could take that game and put it in a cabinet and let people play for 25 cents, I'd make a fortune. He was in his 20s. Graduated from college with a computer science degree. Then went to work in Silicon Valley at a company called National Semiconductor. And at night, he had this idea of designing video games. The problem was the cost of the chips was too expensive. But then something happened and the chips became very cheap. And he was able to start a little company with a couple guys, and they made a prototype game. Because what they wanted to do was they wanted to go to the pinball machine guys and say, hey guys, here's the future. Pinball is going to be dead. Anybody ever play pinball here? Okay. Pinball is going to be dead. This is the future. And the pinball manufacturers would say things like, no, people are going to steal the television out of it. Because nobody knew about monitors. They didn't have computer monitors on desks. They thought it was a TV. So he said, well, I'm gonna have to build a prototype. I'm gonna go put the prototype in. He spent a couple years doing this with guys. He did it at night. He was married. He had a kid. He had a full-time job, but he believed in this thing of, I can just take this game and put it on and sell it for 25 cents. We'll make a lot of money. Other people had done games and they were not good. So they made the prototype. They put it in a location in Sunnyvale called Andy Caps. And 3 days later, they got a call saying your machine is broken. How would you feel?
Devastated.
Okay, how would you feel?
I would start crying,
Really? Seriously?
emotional.
Go
You're
back
okay.
and fix it and try to make a new one.
Okay. So they said, all right, let's go down and see what happened. So they got down there, they opened it up, and what do you think they found?
Monitor was gone.
Okay. This is sort of a trick question. Okay.
It was filled with,
Huh?
it was filled with change.
Okay. The quarters stacked up so high that you couldn't put in, the coin slot
I'm sorry.
was full. And they had a half-gallon, they wanted to save money with their prototypes. They said, let's just get a milk carton, half-gallon milk carton. We'll cut the top off and we'll have it go in because pinball machines would do about $25 a week. So they got there and in 3 days it had done $200. Now you would be crying for a different reason, right? Okay, what would you be, now what would you be saying?
I'm about to be rich.
Yeah, okay, so we kind of a mind meld here, you're tracking it very well. They said, great, we're gonna be rich. And then they said, oh shit. Why'd they say that?
Because they had to build more.
Exactly, because they said, you know what? We just showed the pinball manufacturers a successful game. And if we can't make games and build games and sell games faster than they can, we won't be here a year from now. Nobody's gonna know who we are.
They're gonna need patents and a lot of things.
Okay, so patents. So they said, no, we're not going to do that. And people were ripping off their games. So Nolan said, well, as they were coming out with games, other people were copying their games. So he made Ping and other people Pong. Other people made Ping, and it's not Pong, but it's like Pong. And you can't buy Pong because they're so back-ordered. But wouldn't you like to have Ping instead of nothing? So they were competitors. And he said, you know what? We can spend our money in court fighting people, or we can spend money making games. So what we're going to do is we're going to out-design people. We're not going to litigate them. We're going to out-design them so that we're going to have the reputation of we are the best game company. And that's what they did. And that's why Atari in 1 year went from an idea to
Legacy.
a legacy, to the world leader. And a lot of pinball machine companies went out of business. Gottlieb, you've never heard of Gottlieb. That was one of the major pinball, one of the first pinball machine companies. Williams changed to be a slot machine company. Bally changed to be a slot machine company. So they changed, the whole world changed. And then Nolan said, we're going to do home games. We're going to put cartridges, we're going to make a little device, we're going to have it in the home. And that was the Atari 2600. It was just a little thing with little joysticks, and they were working on word processing and spreadsheets. This is before Microsoft. And then Nolan got an offer from Warner to sell the company. And as he says, you know, we needed the money because we were going into the home market, and we needed a lot more money because in the home market you have to build millions of units for people to buy these things for their home in the next game. And he said we didn't have enough money, so we brought in the guys from Warner, which was the record industry, Warner Records. And they saw the game business as like the record business. They couldn't see it as something different. So so Atari disappeared after Nolan sold it.
Same game but different item.
Sort of. So, but while he was there, he said, you know what, we're on the wrong end of this business. When we make a game for $1,000, we sell it for $2,000, we make $1,000 on it. The guy who buys it for $2,000, he ends up making $10,000 on it. right? How does he make 10,000? This is not a trick question. How does the guy who buys the Pong machine make $10,000? He goes and puts it in a bar, and he splits the money with the bar owner. That's how the video game business works, the jukebox business, pool table business. You have a machine, you go to a guy that has a bar and say, let me put my machine in and we'll split the money. So a Pong machine would do $10,000, $20,000, and the guy who bought it for $2,000, he would make a lot more money. So Nolan said, we need to get into that end of the business. And he looked around, he said, you know, what can we do? It already changed life once. If you go on Wikipedia, Nolan Bushnell, it'll say Newsweek said he's one of 50 people who changed America in the 20th century. One of the top 50 people that changed America in the 20th century. But he had this idea of we need to get in the game business. We can't compete with our customers. We can't just have arcades. So what do? What can we do? We want to make money from video games, but we don't want to be in arcades.
Make systems.
Huh?
Make game
Like
systems.
coins.
Well, he wanted to be in the system, in the end of the business where you're getting the coins, the quarters. So what can we do? We want to get quarters. We want to be in places where people put quarters in the machines, but we don't want to be in an arcade because our customers own arcades. We
Just
can't compete with our customers.
Go with stores and
Okay.
places like that.
Laundromats,
Okay.
malls.
Houses, gas.
Houses, are you going to put a quarter in your machine at
gas
home?
stations.
Okay, so he said, let's think of what we can do that's entertaining for families. Can't just do an arcade.
Concerts.
We fit.
So back then, they didn't.
Amusement park?
So he said, because he was in the amusement park business, he said, maybe I can make a micro amusement park, something kind of like Disneyland that families will go to.
Chuck E. Cheese?
So he said, let's have a restaurant. Let's do a restaurant. And we'll have video games in the restaurant. And what should we sell?
Yeah, what's it?
Fried chicken? No, that's too messy. Hamburgers? No.
Pizza and stuff.
Pizza, because if you've got one guy like Dell and one guy like me, he wants 2 pieces of pizza, I want 6, and everybody's happy. But if it's hamburgers, he orders a hamburger, I order a hamburger, he doesn't eat half of his, and I only get, it doesn't work. Pizza's the ideal thing. So he said, we're going to call it Rick Rat's Pizza. No, I'm sorry. We're going to call it Coyote Jack's Pizza. And he was at a trade show, and there was a guy walking around in a coyote outfit, or one of these outfits. And Nolan said, I'm going to buy that outfit. I'm going to send it back to Atari because we're going to do robots. We're going to have robots inside of these things, like Disneyland Country Jamboree. So he sent the costume back. He called the guys, the engineers at Atari, and said, did you get the coyote outfit? It's another portal being attacked. He said, did you get the coyote outfit? And they said, what coyote outfit? He said, the coyote outfit I sent you. And they said, that's not a coyote outfit. He said, well, what is it? And they said, it's a rat. He said, it's a rat. Why do you say it's a rat? He said, well, for one thing, it has a long pink tail. So he said, well, I'm not going to buy another outfit. I'm not going to buy another coyote outfit. So let's have the guys in marketing try to come up with a name. So, because coyote, because it was going to be called Coyote Jack's. So he said, okay, we'll call it Rick Rat's Pizza. And what do you think the guys at Atari said?
Doesn't sound like a good name.
They said, you can't have rat
With a pizza.
in the name of a restaurant.
There's been no thing
He said, well, what about Mickey Mouse? He said, that's a mouse, that's not a rat. can't have rat in the name of your thing. So he said, okay, come back, go think about it, come back with a name that works.
And he came up with Chuck E. Cheese.
So they came back with what they called a 3-smile name. So you can't say Chuck E. Cheese without smiling 3 times. That's how the name Chuck E. Cheese came up. So he's also the founder of Chuck E. Cheese. And he's been here twice. Okay? And when they did their first Chuck E. Cheese, like after, the first week, they had people lined up out the door. And they said, what? We're going to be rich. And then 32 seconds later, he said, what? Oh, shit.
We gotta make more.
We just showed all the pizza guys how to convert their pizza parlors into something else. If we can't go out and build pizza parlors and open these things faster than everyone else, we won't be around next year. So in 2 years, they opened over 200 Chuck E. Cheese pizza parlors around the country. So Nolan is a guy who's very good at coming up with an idea, building a prototype, and then the most important thing, scaling it very large. And so he has his third thing in life. His third thing is there's a problem with college. What's the problem with college? What's one problem with college? It's the main reason you're not in college, you're here. Huh? That's not a main problem with college.
Financial issues.
Okay, it's expensive. If you go on UNLV's website and you do the thing that's a calculator, and you check the box, I'm going to live at home, not I'm going to live in a dorm, I'm going to live in an apartment, I'm going to live at home, I'm not out of state, I'm living at home. How much do you think it costs to go to UNLV per year?
Thousands.
Huh?
Up to thousands.
Say about 12, 15,000.
Okay. Huh?
I'll say about 10. I'll say 10.
Yeah, like 10.
Okay, so on UNLV's website, it says if you live at home, it's going to cost $16,000 per year. And %39% of people graduate within 6 years. Okay, so that means you're going to spend, what's 16 times 6? What's 6 times 6? 36 plus 60 is what? 96, good. So it's going to cost $96,000. You're either going to spend it or go in debt for a 39% chance of having a degree from a third-tier school.
What's the point of going to college if you're only going to be...
That's no one's thing. It's too expensive. When I went to college, you could afford to pay for college and have a job. A lot of people did. I didn't have to do that. A lot of people did. A lot of people worked and paid for their school. You can't do that now. And then, if you didn't get out in 4 years, the question was always, well, why didn't you graduate in 4 years? Here, if somebody graduates in 4 years, what's the question?
How'd you do it so fast?
How'd you do it so fast? And the system is kind of rigged. Now, CSN is about, I think it's $12,000 a year on their website. This is tuition, registration, books, parking, lunch, meals, just the whole thing. So if you want to go to college, it's going to cost you UNLV $16,000. Why do I say UNLV is a third-tier school? I have a daughter who just graduated from high school. She went to Coronado. And she went to Career Day, all of the schools, and one of them, the military was there, Navy. And the Navy's pitch when I was growing up, when I was in high school, the pitch for the Navy was join the Navy, see the world. Okay, today the pitch of the Navy is you're crazy if you're going to go in debt for college. Have the Navy pay. And the Marine says the same thing, the Army, Coast Guard. You're crazy to do this. This is called indentured servitude. What's indentured servitude?
Basically, working only to be in debt.
No. Does anybody remember American history?
Well, which part of American history?
U.S. American history, when the Pilgrims arrived,
Oh,
before this was a country.
well, for George Washington?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was an indentured servant?
Was basically a person being,
Excuse me, I'm falling asleep.
a person serving without basically any reward.
Okay, so you're on the right track, but we'll just cut it short. So if you were somebody in England who had skills and you wanted to come to America, you could be an indentured servant. So somebody here would say, I'll hire you, I'll pay for you to come over here, but you have to work for me for 5 years for free. After that, you paid them off. They had to provide room and board. But that got you here. Do you think a lot of people came? Yeah, a lot of people came because it was expensive. This is indentured servitude. You're not going someplace, you're getting a degree, and you're now going to spend 10, 15, 20 years to pay it off. Here's the funny part. Unless you're in STEM, the STEM program, what's STEM?
Science, technology, engineering.
Engineering, math, okay? Unless you're in STEM, only 14% of people end up doing what their certificate, their diploma says. So now you spent 6 years, if you're one of the lucky ones, you're one of the 39%, you spent 6 years, $96,000 to get a diploma in something you're not going to do. So Nolan says college has failed people. It's too expensive, it takes too long, and it's mostly not relevant. You can go to UNLV and get a degree in computer science because you want to write code. So how long will that take? Maybe 5 years, right? And how much are you going to spend per year?
16.
If you live at home. So what's 16 times 5? What's 96 minus 16? 80. Okay, you're going to spend $80,000 in 5 years to get a computer science degree so you can go write code. Or you could go work at a company called the Iron Yard that teaches coding in 12 weeks. It's $12,000. So they say, well, would you rather pay $12,000 for 12 weeks or would you want it to take a year? I'd rather pay to have it done. So if you go to the Iron Yard in basically 1 quarter, 3 months, it's going to take you to learn to code. They get people jobs. And where do you think you're going to be 5 years later? You think you're going to be minus 96,000?
No.
No. You're probably going to be making 96,000 a year
Is your income.
in a business that you like doing. So Nolan says college is too expensive, it takes too long, and it's mostly irrelevant for people unless you're going into STEM or law school. You know, some things you have to go to college for. You want to be a teacher, you have to go to college, but most things you don't. If you're committed to going to college, I would say join the Navy. So my daughter joined the Navy. I didn't even know anything about it. I was skeptical because, you know, I went to high school, went to a good university, went to law school. So my daughter wants to join the Navy. So but she was only 17. She hasn't turned 18 until the end of December. So I had to go sign. And in the Navy, or all military things, before you get in, you have to do what?
Training.
Before that.
Well, you gotta get a high school degree.
Yeah.
Take
Okay.
an ASVAB, whatever.
ASVAB. Okay, you have to take the test. And what the Navy said to me is, we're different. Now, other people said, no, the Army and the Marines do the same thing. What the Navy said to me is, we're different. You take your ASVAB. Whatever score you get, we tell you these are the jobs you qualify for. We sign a contract with you that says this is the job you get. If you don't get that job, you don't have to be in the Navy. So in the old days, like with the Army, and somebody said it's not this way anymore, but with the Army, you sign up, you go to boot camp. Depending upon how you do at boot camp, then they say, okay, now here's what you're going to do. We're going to have you do this. In the Navy, they say no. Depending upon how you do on the test, here's what you're qualified for. You sit down with the counselor, in quotes, and we agree on your job. You sign the contract. You go in this room over here. We're going to do a little 10 minutes of training with you, and then you're going to be sworn in. And your dad can come in and take pictures. That's how you get in the Navy. Now, she did well enough, not great, but she did well enough to get into naval intelligence. That's a 6-year commitment, not 4. Now, and then she can go to college while she's in the Navy. What is that person going to be like? What do you think she'll be like if she starts the college in, say, year number 4 in the Navy, in naval intelligence, versus she started right out of high school? Is she going to be any different as a student?
No.
No? She's been in naval intelligence for 4 years?
Well,
You think she's going to be the same student? The teacher's going to look at her, she's going to act the same as if she was just got out of high school? No. She's going to be very different, right? She'll have a much higher chance of getting out in 4 years. And then it turns out if you stay, you join the reserves, they'll pay for graduate school. But anyway, while I was there, this is back to why do I know UNLV is a third tier school. I'm sitting there waiting, they're printing out papers, there's a lot of waiting. So I'm chit-chatting with recruiters and I say, hey, do you get many people in here that graduate from UNLV that want to go to Navy flight school? Okay, so to join the Navy, you have to have a high school diploma. To be a pilot, you have to have a college degree. And he said, no, not really. And he said it in one of those weird ways that made me think there's more to the story. So I said, what do you mean? What does that mean? You know, something like that. He said, well, the Navy won't take anybody from UNLV. And I said, what do you mean the Navy won't take anybody from UNLV? He said, it's a third tier school. They won't accept anybody from UNLV in Navy flight school. I said, what about UNR? He said, well, that's a second tier school. Maybe the Navy would take them, but they would never get into the Air Force. So now we're looking at, is it worth spending 6 years and $96,000 to go to a school that good places consider third tier? Is that a good strategy? Versus where would you be if you had a skill and had been working for 6 years and didn't have any debt? Where would you be? It's better, right? Yeah, be much better. Now, just disclaimer, I'm not really against UNLV. The problem with why UNLV is the way it is Nevada was the fastest growing state in the country for 25 years. The infrastructure could not keep up. And when I say infrastructure, I mean high schools. And everybody here should know that Nevada is ranked number 51 in the country, K through 12. Did you know that? Number 51. How could it be number 51?
Is Arizona like the 50th or 49th or?
No. No. How could Nevada be number 51? How many states are there?
50.
Are you sure? 'Cause you said it kind of like a question. How many states?
Say 50 states.
How could Nevada be number 51 if there's only 50 states?
Did we buy Canada?
No. Okay,
Not
because
really 50.
Washington, D.C. is part of that number. We are ranked lower than Washington, D.C. And Nevada Las Vegas, when people ask around the world, what are the 7 great cities in the world? No matter where you go in the world, if you say in a cosmopolitan area, I'm not saying you go into, this little village in Ecuador where they don't know anything, or you go into Fiji, or Tahiti, or if you go to a major place in the world and say, what are the 7 greatest, best cities in the world? What are the top 10 cities in the world? You're going to list Las Vegas in the top 7. If we go to Paris, you're a Frenchman. What are the top 10 cities in the world? Las Vegas is going to be in the top 7. It's always in the top 7. If you're from Rome, Rome is number 1. If you're from Paris, Paris is number 1. If you're from Russia, you might say St. Petersburg. But
Moscow.
Las Vegas, or you might say Moscow. But Las Vegas is always in the top 7. So we live in one of the greatest cities in the world, and it really is. And we have the worst school system here. Well, so the reason we do, it turns out the reason we do is we grew so fast, the infrastructure didn't keep up. It's part of the problem. The ultimate problem, though, is there's only one school district. Okay, what's the problem with that?
Nothing to compete.
Exactly. You can blame the parents. So if you ever go to when you get a little bit older, you say to a teacher, why is Nevada so bad? Oh, because the parents are bad. You can't teach a kid who lives in a car. You can't teach a kid whose parents are fighting. You can't teach a kid who doesn't eat. They always blame the parents. And then if they can't blame the parents, they say, we're 14 schools short. And somebody says, you know what, I heard that they were going to offer night school. And parents want night school because a lot of parents work at night. What does the teachers union always say?
Can't do it.
No, yeah, they say no. What is happening with every school out here after 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Yeah, well, unless it's Calvin. The school's empty. We're not 14 schools short. We're 250 schools over if we said we're going to have night school. Do you think teachers from other parts of the country would come here if they taught at night? Yeah, of course, some would. There's 300 million people in this country. You don't think they can get 500 teachers?
No, they can't.
They can't. They don't want to. So
it's laziness.
I say it's not, and so I say the school district, it's not their fault that Nevada grew. But they could have done things. They could have been 2 school districts, north and south. And you know what would happen if there was north and south? The natural tendency of people is you don't want to be last, right? You're going to make sure that you're not far behind the other guys. So I blame them because they went to a union mentality that said it's not our fault. We don't have to solve the problem. We don't need to build more schools. What we need to do is use the schools that we have at night. I say the same thing about judges. They say the same thing. The people all vote for, yeah, let's have night court. I work during the day. I'd rather go to court at night. Who objects?
The day people.
The judges. Because they don't want to do it. And they don't want somebody else in their courtroom. Okay, so that's my thing about school. So my advice, this is not a good plan unless you're planning to go into STEM or be a teacher. Not a good choice. If you're planning to be a teacher, you should have a career first. Because as you know, you might have had some teachers who went to college to be a teacher and they came out, they didn't have any experience, any real world experience. They were just, 10 years older than you, 8 years older than you, they're 20 something. That's not a teacher. That's somebody who should be a teacher's aide. A teacher's supposed to give you wisdom. Okay? 22-year-old people don't have wisdom by definition. Okay. So Nolan's third thing was, I changed the world once with Atari. from video games. I changed the world a second time with family entertainment, with Chuck E. Cheese. Now I'm going to do it a third time with education. Education should not be like this, it should be affordable. And so he's created a new thing, a new program called SNAP. It's not an acronym, it's SNAP, because no one likes to have names that fit on a hat and that people remember. And they're not goofy. You know, it's not like spelling with a PH at the end or something. People say, well, how do you spell that? SNAP. And SNAP teaches people how to start their own business. Instead of being an employee, you learn how to have your own business. And so what do you learn in SNAP? You learn accounting, QuickBooks. Anybody ever hear of QuickBooks? Okay, QuickBooks is the Microsoft Office of business accounting, small business accounting. They have a course, 130-hour course. We teach it at Larson. You take the test, and if you pass, you get a certificate from QuickBooks saying you're a certified QuickBooks accountant. You take QuickBooks, so you need to know accounting. Do you think you need to know accounting in your normal life? Yeah. You take a class in business law, contracts, property rights, things like that, from Yale University. Do you think knowing law is important? Yeah, it's important for business, it's important in life. You take a course in HR, 130 hours. And it's 130 hours HR, human resources, because all people who are entrepreneurs have to build teams, they have to hire, train, and manage people. You learn media, so you learn how to use a camera and do things. You learn in social media. You learn marketing. You learn funding. See, most people think when you go into business for yourself, you have an idea and you go find people who have money. No, you need those other things that I talked about too. So funding, technology, and the future. Well, okay, so good point. And experience, because while you go to school, you have a job. And so this is what it costs to go to SNAP. It costs $12,000, but there's a $4,000 scholarship. No, I don't think that's right. I'm going to start it the other way. It's been a while since actually, let's go back because there's new pricing. What does it cost to go to SNAP? It costs $150 a week, or $600 a month, and it should take 9 months. So how much is that?
So that'll take 9 months?
Yeah. What's 6 times 9?
$5,400.
$5,400. Costs $5,400. And you come out, if you decide to go to school after that, you have a QuickBooks certificate, you took a course from Yale Law in basic business law, HR, media, marketing, funding, technology, and the future. You kick everybody's ass at UNLV or anywhere, or a good school like where I went. Now you say, but I don't have $5,400, right? Well, one of the things you get also going to SNAP is experience. So you get a job that's going to pay you at least $300 a week. So $300 a week times 39 weeks. Let's just say it's 40 weeks. How much is that? 300 times 40. What's 3 times 4? 12 what? $12,000. So you're going to generate, you're going to have a job that's going to pay you $12,000. at a best practices company. So out of your $12,000, but it's not a thing, you don't get to live at home. Because you know what, in good universities, you don't get to go live at home. You don't go to Harvard and say, well, I have to go home tonight. You live in the dorm, you live with people because it's part of the experience. And to be an entrepreneur, you have to learn to build teams and work in teams and get immersed in what it is. So you have room and board that you have to pay. That's $6,000. Well, what's 12,000 minus 6? You're still 6,000 to the good, right? Now, how do you pay this? You pay it out of, this is tuition, you pay it out of that. So Nolan is saying, holy, we're gonna be richer again. But this time it's not, oh shit, we just showed everybody else how to do it. Because there's only one, what?
One team.
There's only one Nolan Bushnell. How many guys can say I've changed the world twice?
A few people have.
Well, how many? 3 that are alive.
Oh.
Okay, because you can't say Albert Einstein, because he can't say that, because he's dead.
Well, Gandhi.
He's dead.
Bill Gates.
Okay, Bill Gates. He's done it once.
Steve Jobs is dead.
He's dead. Bill Gates did it once, Microsoft. So he knows that.
There's
Who?
oh, they're dead.
There's 1 million people. Name 3. Okay, Elon Musk, who's that? Who's Elon Musk? Okay, write this down, Elon Musk. And write down Nolan Bushnell. Elon Musk. Who's Richard Branson? Virgin. Virgin Airlines, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Records. That's Richard Branson. That's about all I can think of right now. Larry Page. Who's that? And Sergey. Brin.
Sergey?
Yeah. Who are these guys?
Morgan Freeman.
He's an actor.
Oh no, he's not just an actor too.
What else?
He's basically a history man.
Okay, so we're talking about people who changed everybody's life. Atari changed your life because it was all video games flowed from Atari. Chuck E. Cheese changed everybody's life. How many people have not been to Chuck E. Cheese in here? Bill? Have you been to Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. These are the guys from Google. Google.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They're still doing their job. He's still doing his job. He's doing his job. So for Snap, the idea of this is an alternative to college. What Nolan wants to do is get it, he calls it the third rail. So when you were getting ready, who's graduated from high school? Okay. So what were your choices when you were graduating from high school? So what you're going to do next year?
Go to the military, go to college.
Or work.
Work.
Okay, really for most people there's 2 choices, work or college. And for most people college is a continuation of adolescence, especially here. work, you have people who don't really know anything, starting out with low-level jobs because they don't have any marketable skills. And people will hire 18-year-olds and train them, but that could take 10 years if you decide you're going to go that route. And then when you find out you don't have enough education, you're kind of limited. So right now you only have 2 bad choices. I think the military is a good choice, but they don't take everybody. And if too many people want to do it, they're just going to say no, because they only need to fill up the spots of people retiring. But there's enough. So this is Nolan's 3rd thing. This is what he wants to be his legacy. And he's starting it here. Okay. Now what does that have to do with you? Okay, so number 1 thing, Tim, right? No,
Demonte.
Tim is, okay, Tim, Demonte, I know Danielle, I know Dale, so that means you're gone. Okay. So Demonte, so you are, nobody else is in college right now, right? Or has gone. Okay, so you're the guy who's doing it. And CSN is considered like high school by employers. Okay, by employers. Now, is CSN better than just having a high school diploma?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why you're doing it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is having a high school diploma better than not having a high school diploma for work?
You just said it right here.
Yeah. Now what Nolan says is, I have 8 kids. Nolan says, I have 8 kids. I actually have 6 kids. He has 8. He says, half of my kids went to college and half of my kids didn't. The ones that went to college and the ones that didn't go to college are equally successful. They didn't get successful because they went to college. And the ones that are the most successful are the ones that started their own business and they didn't go to college. Because what does college basically teach you to do?
Blend in.
Huh?
Blend in.
Well, to be an employee, right? That's what college basically teaches you to do. Now you can go to Harvard, Stanford, you can go to schools like that where they have a lot of people that start businesses, but basically businesses teach you to be an employee. Get a degree in this. Because you have a college degree in women's studies, it'll help you get a job. Because you get a college degree in communications from UNLV, you're going to be able to get a job easier than somebody who dropped out of high school. Okay, that's the Kool-Aid we're all drinking. No one's saying that's not the Kool-Aid we need to drink. We need to say there's an alternative. For people that want to write code, what's the alternative? Iron yard. So you should write the iron yard down on your paper. 12 weeks, $12,000. Learn to code. Get you a job. It's a licensed post-secondary school. We're going to be doing a Saturday workshop with them, where Nolan's coming in to do a fireside chat in the first week of August. So it's another reason I want to make sure to have your email addresses so we can invite you to that. It's free. And you should consider going to SNAP if you want to be successful in the future. And so let's talk about the future. But before we do that, what's the fundamental difference between a good student and a not good student?
The good students is they remember more.
Right. Okay, that's from last week. That's it. So if you didn't see that up there, what would you say?
Their behavior.
Huh?
Their behavior.
Okay, so what does that mean? What's the difference between a good student and a not good student? What do you mean their behavior?
They're a good student who can listen, pay attention when you're supposed to,
Okay.
fast student.
Okay, so the reality is this simple. And you notice I crossed this out and I put employee here. The difference between good and not good is the people who are good remember more. Go to take a test, who does better on the test?
The person who studied for it.
Well, no, not the person who studied, the person who remembered more. And it's usually the person who studied more remembers more, right? It's usually that way. If you study more, you're going to remember more. But there are some people, everybody's seen somebody who said, I spent 5 hours studying this, and still didn't understand it, right? You ever heard that? Felt that? Okay. So it's not studying, it's remembering. And the thing is, our brains are designed to forget 70% of what we learn if we don't review it within 24 hours. So let's just do a little thought experiment. If you learn something and you don't take notes, how do you go back and review it?
This video you just made?
Correct. Okay, but otherwise, how do you do it? You can't. It's gone. If you try to say, I'm going to remember this, you're not going to be able to remember it. Because our brains are not designed to remember. Because we have so much stuff coming in, our brains don't know what's important or not important. You walk outside, and what do you feel immediately? What do you sense immediately when you walk outside?
Heat.
Your brain says, boy, it's hot out here, right? Your brain doesn't know the difference between you need to remember that or you need to remember something I said. But if you repeat doing something over and over, anybody in here play basketball? Okay. So what do you have to do in basketball to be good?
Practice.
Exactly.
Play against people who are better than
Okay. You learn to shoot, and you create a neural network in your brain that's able to calculate how much pressure.
Muscle memory.
It's basically like muscle memory. They call it muscle memory, but it's really your brain is able to do things subconsciously. So who has a license in here? Do you? Okay. You remember the first time you drove? Scary, right? Very first time? It's scary, right? You're always, how far do I push on the gas? Do I turn window? I'm looking around. How hard do I put on the brakes? All that stuff, right? A month later, what are you doing? Eating a cheeseburger, texting, talking to the person next to you, and singing all at the same time. And you don't even know how you got there. Is that muscle memory?
Yeah.
No, that's not muscle memory. That is your brain is on autopilot doing that. It's telling your foot, push down. Your foot, how would your foot know how far to push down on the gas pedal? From muscle memory.
Well,
Because you haven't been driving down this road ever before in this traffic. So there was a philosopher named Heraclitus that said, you can never step into the same river twice. Huh? Why is that?
Because the flow, it's already past you.
Exactly.
It's the same spot.
So when you're driving, so you could say, if I'm at the free throw line, I'm shooting baskets, you could say that's muscle memory, right? When you're driving down the freeway, that's like stepping into the river again. Everything's different cars, there's no muscle memory in that at all. What it is your brain has developed a routine, a pattern, and it knows how to drive without you being conscious of doing everything. That's a good thing. That's why in the morning when it comes time to brush our teeth, what do we not have to do? We don't have to figure out how to brush our teeth, right? What are you doing when you're brushing your teeth in the morning? What are you thinking of? What's going through your brain?
Something different.
Exactly. What am I going to do today? What am I going to have for breakfast? Who am I going to see later? You're not thinking about brushing your teeth. When people say, I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, like it's a bad thing. Is that a bad thing? No. Because your brain is saying you don't need to remember what you had for breakfast. You don't need to remember how you brush your teeth. You don't need to remember how hard to push on the gas pedal or to remember to look right, look left before you. You don't need to remember that. It does it for everything. 70% of what we learn, we are going to forget within 24 hours if we don't study. If you don't take notes, how are you going to study? How are you going to remember anything? You're going to go back in your brain and you're going to try to do it. Well, we have a problem. It's called television. Because television today hypnotizes us. Television goes on, and what happens to us? Where does our brain go? We go right into that TV, into that thing like it's real.
Yeah, I don't have a TV. I have a flat screen. I'm mostly on my computer the most.
Okay, same thing. Those things, video monitor hypnotizes us. It gets our attention, but the information goes in and it goes through. You really don't remember. So if you want to do an experiment, what's your favorite TV show? I don't know that show. Does anybody know that show?
Yeah.
Oh, you
The second season was great.
Good. See, I knew Del would.
I can't even think of it.
Okay, Empire.
Simpsons.
You like Empire, right?
Empire. Oh no, God, wait. You mean that stuff? You mean that?
Taraji P. Henson?
Oh God, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
All right. Well, you look like an Empire guy. Okay. So if okay. So if you watch Empire, and after it was over, I said, okay, write down everything you remember. How many of that 45-minute show? Because that's how long that hour show is. It's 45 minutes. How much do you think you could write down?
Probably the last 20 minutes of it.
No. You'd be able to write 5 minutes at the most. If you were trying to write down everything you remember from that show, you'd probably be able to write for 5 minutes.
I want to
Huh?
try this.
Huh?
I want to try this.
Huh? You can only write for 5 minutes? Yeah, why? Because you were hypnotized into the show. Now, if you watch, the show comes back on, and then somebody says, what's going to happen next? Are you going to be able to say? Yeah. You're going to be able to say, oh yeah, here's what's going to happen next. You're going to remember it. Because that's a different part of your memory. That's recall. And you just watched it. A day later, you're not going to be able to remember it. That's why people like watching the same show over again, because they don't really remember. If we are at a good school or in law school, I can promise you, what everybody would be doing would be writing as fast as they could to take notes. Why? To remember more. Because if you don't take notes, how are you going to remember? So Del, what's one way of remembering if you don't take notes?
Video.
Okay, what's a way? Del, one. Too long. What's another way to remember? This isn't a trick question.
Onto the computer, type everything down.
So you're going to leave here and then you're going to go back and type everything?
Well, no, like most people when they go to classes, they write.
How are you going to remember this? If you don't take notes, how are you going to remember this? And we already said that. We already said that. How are you going to remember?
Well, you type into the notes. Of course.
Okay, go back and take notes. Okay, so instead of taking the notes live while it's happening, now you're going to try to remember the things that were important.
You do it while it's there.
Yeah, but you're not doing
Go to YouTube.
that. Well, we already said that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so another way that they do it at good universities, you have a study group. You walk out of class and everybody goes in and you start saying, what did you learn? What did you think? Oh yeah, I remember that. And they take notes and they add to their notes and then they go back and do what?
Remember.
They go back and review it. So SNAP is 4 hours of class a day. Then there's 4 hours of studying a day. And then there's 6 hours of work a day. SNAP is 2,700 hours. How many hours a week? It's 70 hours a week. How many hours a week do you go to CSN?
Maybe probably like half of that, probably 20 hours. 12
Really?
hours, 8 hours.
Are you in class 8 hours?
Oh no, like that's the credit hours for the for semester, but if I go to class every week, probably about
Falling asleep. Not very many.
yeah, it's not very.
Okay. So what do you think you're going to be like 70 hours a week for 39 weeks? What if you went to the gym 8 hours a day for 39 weeks? What would you be like at the end of 39 weeks?
Exhausted.
No, you'd be a monster. Right? You'd be in the best shape of your life. Exactly. So SNAP is 27, it's more hours in 9 months than most people spend in their whole college career. And the problem is, again, going back, if you're going to college 10 hours a week, the problem is you're going to keep forgetting that stuff. When you go every day, you build on it. It's just like, how good a shape would you get in if you went to the gym 2 hours a week? Danny?
Not,
If you went to the gym 2 hours a week, how much better would you get?
A lot better.
2 hours a week?
Oh wait, 2 hours a week? Oh no.
You wouldn't get any better.
Yeah.
If you go to class 6 hours a week, you're not going to get really any better. And you certainly aren't going to get as good as you would have been if you're going every day. That's why the Iron Yard is this immersive 12-week program, because guess what you don't do? You don't forget, because you have to use what you did yesterday and build on it. You're always building. Okay. Now, the future. Here's the big thing about the future.
Hey, I had written out a youth interest form for Daryl. But I just didn't want to float her out because the one that was handed to me was a different one. She said somebody took it from her.
And you should write this down.
So that's the one who
50% of the jobs in 2036 do not exist today. You cannot get half of the jobs that are going to exist 20 years from now. You cannot get that job today. It does not exist.
Okay, well, just as long as you've got it. Yeah.
And probably 80% of today's jobs won't exist. Okay? Or they'll be so different that they're not really the same. You know, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, if a guy said, I make shoes, what did he do? Leather, cut the leather, sew the leather. If you meet a guy today that says, I make shoes, what does he do?
Factory worker.
Factory worker, gluing, mostly gluing stuff today. They don't make shoes. If you were 50 years ago, you said, I'm an auto mechanic, what would you have to know how to do? Yeah. If today you say you're an auto mechanic, what do you mainly need to know how to do? You replace parts. You don't fix a lot of stuff in a car, you replace the parts. You have to know how to use a computer. Does anybody here know auto mechanics? No? Nobody knows auto mechanics? Well, today, to be a mechanic, you have to know how to use the computer. You have to know how to hook it up and do diagnostics, and it tells you what to do. Did you need to know how to do that 30 years ago? No, because you couldn't do it 30 years ago. They didn't do it 30 years ago.
They didn't have any blueprints or anything to do it.
Well, they had blueprints, but they didn't have computers. You couldn't just plug your car into a computer and have it tell you what you need to do. You couldn't just go get a new Hetza-Petza. You might have had to fix the Hetza-Petza that broke. So 80% of today's jobs are not going to exist in the future. Fast food, not going to exist.
It's mainly factories.
So, whatever jobs you're thinking, and so DeMonte, what job are you thinking about getting from school? Because of school?
Firefighter, paramedic.
Okay, firefighter, okay, good. So another reason you should join the Navy, try to become a Navy SEAL. I used to train Navy SEALs at discharge from the Navy. So that, you know, because they're the highest trained people in the world.
They're
They're the-
special forces.
Well, they're special.
Ultimate Buds program.
So, you know, what is the basic thing about getting through buds?
Like the,
Getting through.
yeah, getting through, just a strong mentality, I guess.
So I used to train guys that got out of the Navy that were Navy SEALs because they're the highest trained people in the world. And their attitude is like this. So I trained them to be normal people. Because they don't really know how to be around morons. Okay? So they would say, okay, so let me get this straight. You want us to turn this pig freighter into an F-16 while it's in flight, right? I'd say, well, yeah. I'd say, okay, just checking. What does everybody else say when they say that? You know, in other words, it's an impossible job. Their attitude is just checking. Just want to be clear what you want us to do. They're not going to say, no, that can't be done, it's impossible. That's their attitude. So it's difficult for people to have that attitude to work around people who are always coming up with reasons why things can't be done. And the Navy spends a lot of money on trying to figure out who can be a Navy SEAL, and they can't figure it out. Because if they could find guys in high school and say, you know what, we want you to come be a SEAL, they would have already done it. They can't figure it out. So I would ask our guys. And one guy we had was a Navy SEAL sniper. Another guy we had is maybe 20 pounds bigger than you. How tall are you?
5'9".
Okay, so he was about 6'1", Casey. His job that he was trained in the Navy for was to have a 200-pound backpack, which had a nuclear weapon in it, to parachute into a country. This is if all hell broke loose. Parachute into a country, and his instructions were, try to get as far away from this bomb before it blows up as you can. That takes a special guy, right? Say, I'll have a nuclear bomb strapped on my back, you're gonna drop me into a place, a lot of people are gonna get killed, including probably me. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, that was him. Another guy, Bill, was a sniper. He left the program because the Iraqi war broke out, and he got offered a job to go back being a Navy, a contract sniper, to get people that were leaving the Iraqi army going into Syria. Just shoot them. You know, high-level officers, the deck of cards. Just shoot them. And I said, Bill, why would you do that? He said, well, they're going to pay me $13,000 a month, tax-free plus a bounty.
It's just a
I said, Bill, you have a wife and you're on a path to a career. And ultimately he said, Ed, you don't know what it's like having somebody in your sights at 900 yards. So what do you say to that? You say, Mazel tov. That's what you say. They're different people. So I would ask these guys, well, what do you think it takes to become a Navy SEAL? And the best thing, if you want to be a firefighter, is to become a Navy SEAL. If you can't be a Navy SEAL, then be recon, force recon, or
SWIC.
Something. You know, be something. And but the way you get through Navy SEALs, what many SEALs told me is they had to adopt an attitude. Now, when you're in BUDS, mostly they're breaking you down physically. It's really hard physically, but it's not mostly physical. It's what?
mental.
Because what are they doing mentally?
Trying to break your
How?
mentality.
Saying like, sorry, I can't curse, but I would just say, putting you through things, be like, oh man, I quit, or be like, oh no, I'm gonna persevere and I'm gonna pass this.
Now, what do they say to you? What do the drill instructors say?
Um,
What's the mental game they
Their
play
whole
in you?
point is to make you fail.
How?
Matt,
How?
you piece of.
No. No. Well, sort of. So their basic thing is, look, you're not going to be a SEAL. Why put yourself through this? Wouldn't you rather be with your girlfriend Wouldn't you rather be with your parents? I've been doing this for 10 years. You're not gonna make it through. Just go pick up the bat and tap out now.
Oh, it's a bell.
Yeah.
You pull down your boots down, and you ring the bell.
Okay, that part doesn't matter. The thing is, just go do it. They're not yelling. They might be yelling at you, but they're trying to use whatever.
Reverse
If-
psychology.
Yeah, reverse psychology, double reverse psychology. And so this one guy, Mike, I said, Mike, how did you get through? He said, I would have to keep telling myself. He said, I'd like to have the opportunity to go into the shower, cold water running on myself, and I would just convince myself I would rather die than quit. And that's what I would say. I would rather die than quit. So whenever they're saying something to me, where's it going? Is it sticking in my brain?
Oh, yeah,
It's just going right through me. When they say, wouldn't you rather be with your girlfriend? Maybe she's gonna she's gonna start seeing someone else.
That's the risk of the military.
Well, but that's not what you say to yourself. You just say, I'd rather die than quit. You don't even let that thing take root. You don't let that seed sprout. You don't want to think for 1/1,000,000th of a second, hey, is that true? Maybe my girlfriend would start going out with my best friend? You don't want to have that thought in your brain. Okay, so what's the future? If most of the jobs are not going to exist, what's killing jobs? There's 3 things that we're going to talk about very quickly. Drones, self-driving cars, and Hyperloop. Okay, what are drones?
Things that,
Okay, how are they going to change the future?
they gonna change.
A lot of ways. What's one?
Like iRobot?
What's a drone? Do you know what a drone is? Write these 3 things down. These are going to change the world. Yes, it's Dell standing there like this. It's a self-flying device.
Well, they're sort of like a self-controlled or personal controlled AI, somewhat.
Well, it doesn't really have artificial intelligence. Well, it depends how you define artificial intelligence. It has certain algorithms that enable it to learn and figure things out. So, drones are going to change things. When I grew up, when I was a kid, if an airplane flew in the sky in the Bay Area, people would say, hey, look, there's an airplane. We don't do that now. Why?
Because
You just look up, there's airplanes everywhere. If a drone was flying out there, I'd say, hey, a drone. What do you think everybody in here would do?
Freak out.
They'd look, right? God, there's a drone? Oh, cool. What's it doing? Okay. In the future, where you're going to look in the sky and you're going to see like a highway in the sky of just drones. Doing what?
Drone things.
Like what? Delivering packages. Packages. We don't have a lot of time to go into the numbers, but how much does it cost to send something FedEx?
$20. It's 12 and up.
Hmm? What?
12 and up.
Okay. Let's say it's $10.
Plus the shipment.
Okay. So let's just say it's $10 next day. Drone next day. $3, 30 minutes. That's what it's going to cost to ship something by drone. $3, and you'll have it in 30 minutes. To where? To where?
Wherever
Wherever what?
my phone is.
Exactly. You'll get a little text, have an app, there'll be an app for this. You'll get a text that says, okay, your cigars are arriving, whatever it is. Whatever the thing is. Where do you want it delivered? And you'll have certain places stored in your phone. House, work, me. If you say me, how's it gonna know where me is?
Location on,
Huh?
the location.
How's it gonna know where that is?
Yes.
Yeah, just from your phone coordinates. That's gonna be the future. So what jobs are gonna open up because of that? Well, I'll give you one job. One great job is baking. People that want to have a really high-end bakery. I think donuts too. I think donuts is just going to be a killer because donuts don't cost a lot. Just imagine if you're at work and somebody says, hey, let's order donuts. Today, what do you have to do if somebody says, let's order donuts?
Go to the store and you don't get any-
Somebody's got to go get them, right? Or you had to think about it before you came to work. Guess what's going to happen in the future? Hey, let's get donuts. Oh, cool. Hey, that's a good idea. Bing, bing, bing. Do my thing.
So we here.
And they're going to be here in 8 minutes.
And 35 seconds.
Okay? That's a hell of a business. You know, if I was younger, one of the things I would do would be to go look around for donut people that make donuts and say, let's go in as partners because I have an idea. I'll be the salesman. You make donuts. If you don't want to, that's okay because I have meetings with other people too. And you just sign this non-disclosure. But let's say you like baking really fancy desserts. And you get a business license and your bakery is in your house. Would that be a cool job if you loved to bake and your bakery was in your house? You didn't have customers coming to you because you had what?
No.
You had a drone delivering. Now let's say you're a guy, so not you, and we're going to have a date. We want the night to really go well. We're going to have a date, and let's say we're going to have her over for dinner. We're going to have a date. We want to have a really good dessert. So if you don't know this, write this down for yourself because if you have a really great dessert, you're going to have a good night. Would it be worth having the best possible pastry that you really can't get anywhere, or if you could, it would probably cost $30, but you can have it delivered for $10? Or let's say it's your parents' anniversary or something. That's one hell of a business. Find someone that wants to bake, have in their home, and you deliver the desserts by drone. So there's a new sport for drones. It's called drone golf. Who plays golf? Sidio?
A little bit.
Okay. Okay, good. So there's a new sport called drone golf.
They even made drone racing too.
Okay. So drone golf, you try to get the ball closest to the hole. There's only a couple rules. You can't hover. So you either fly your drone so that the ball rolls, or you fly the drone so the ball doesn't roll. And it's good exercise and you walk, and it's not, you know, you can do it when you're 80 years old, and it's supposed to be a lot of fun. This did not exist a year ago. They're going to start doing baseball. You leaving?
I gotta make sure I get everything I need to
Okay.
do done
So
before my bus.
they're going to have, like baseball, where you have drones on defense. They're going to be able to catch the ball, fly it back. Basketball, you know, drone on drone. Okay, there'll be sports. So drones are going to change everything. Why? Because it's cheaper. And it opens up opportunities for people. So if you can think of something that can be delivered to people, in other words, it's light, not boats, not cars, but something light, clothing, fashion line. I'm meeting a guy at 2:30 who has a line of clothing. And just imagine how cool that would be. Once a month, you're in the club, you get new t-shirts or whatever, hat, whatever, socks. And once a month, the drone delivers the stuff to your house or wherever you are. And you don't want to have it delivered to your house because you want it actually delivered when there's a whole bunch of your friends around, right? Okay. So this is going to change everything. What are self-driving cars? Anybody know about self-driving cars?
Yeah,
Who's big in this country in self-driving cars?
They've had, they did it in here, actually was the first test. One of the places, one of the tests.
Well, self-driving cars is Google. They've been doing it for 5 years. They've got cars that have been doing millions of miles of driving. Self-driving cars drive better than we do. Okay, we don't have time to talk about why, just trust me. They drive better than we do. Here's the future. Self-driving cars can drive this far apart. Why?
Because it's programmed.
They're
Distance.
faster if we have to.
Yeah.
Can they communicate?
Our brains are able to process 4 things per second. So the car in front of you slows down. There's a lot of processing going on. Like, how much do I slow down, right? Oh, they slowed down. I just noticed they slowed down. Now should I slow down? How hard do I push down on the brake? It takes a lot. That's why we have to drive about half a car length for every 10 miles of speed, because we can only do 4 calculations a second. These cars can do 100, but they have 7 cameras, not 1 pair of eyes. So they can drive this far apart because if this car slows down or speeds up, it's going to take 1/100th of a second for them to notice it. And how does a car tell depth? How does a camera tell depth? It takes a picture, so this will be probably the license plate of the car in front of you. And all license plates are the same size. So the algorithm in the computer, in the camera, in the car, is going to say, okay, so here's the dimensions of a license plate. You need to get in so that it's, 14,000 by 8,000 pixels. Okay? Everybody know what a pixel is on the screen? Okay? So stay so that this thing is 800 by 14,000, 8,000 by 14,000 pixels. If you're looking at that 100 times a second, are you going to be able to keep that? Yeah. 100 times a second, you're saying, okay, is it 14 by 8, 14 by 8, 14 by 8, 14 by 100 times a second? That car's going 100 miles an hour in front of you. 100 times a second, you're trying to keep it so that this distance is like that. It's not going to just slam on the brakes unknowingly. The GPS and the cameras, it's going to know what's going on in front. So you're going to be able to get on Eastern, which will be one way going north. You're going to be able to get on Eastern going 70 miles an hour. How long is it going to take you to get across town? How long does it take you to get across town? A couple minutes, right? Going 70 miles an hour on Eastern. And the cars are going to be this far apart. But that's not the cool thing. What's it going to look like when you're on the inside of the self-driving car?
That you're speeding.
Huh?
That you're speeding.
No. What are you going to see?
Like, digital?
What do you mean?
Like digital.
Like digital what?
Digital radio.
Oh, instrumentation?
signals.
Okay. So you're on the right track. The windows are going to be replaced with LCD displays.
Oh.
So you can say, let's be in outer space.
Oh, that's cool.
And you're driving from here to LA, but when on the inside it looks like, let's say you're under the ocean. Let's say you say, let's be like we're in the Wild West and we're in the stagecoach and there's Indians chasing us. That's what it's going to look like on the inside in the future.
That's what the pixels are for.
Are there going to be a lot? No, the pixels are for the cameras to see how close you are to the car in front of you. The windows are gonna be able to change to be TVs.
Like visual, just like.
You could say, I want to be in a classroom with Einstein as the professor. And everywhere you look, it looks like you're in a classroom. Or you could be going to SNAP, doing your SNAP lecture. And it's a hangout on air. So the thing about hangouts on air is somebody could have been on there and asking questions. It's two-way. It's not just broadcast, it's a two-way thing. So, self-driving cars. Nolan is on the board of directors of Hyperloop One. What's Hyperloop One?
Isn't it that it's like getting from Vegas to California like that, or is it?
Yeah. Okay. So Hyperloop One is a new train system.
So that's what, I know that, yeah, I know that.
Okay. He's on the board of directors. He just came back from Slovakia. I had lunch with Nolan in LA on Tuesday, and this thing will go 700 miles an hour. It's in a tube.
Yeah.
And it's like a vacuum tube, so there's no wind resistance. Is there a lot of wind resistance when you're driving a car?
Yeah.
How do you know?
You can hear it.
Like the air is just.
You open the window and you put your hand out, right? What happens with your hand? Okay. So is there wind resistance on the inside of the car when you're driving, the windows are up?
No.
No, there's no wind resistance. So think of it, you're in a train and there's no wind resistance in front of you. And it's magnetic, so it doesn't have wheels. So there's no friction, okay? And it accelerates half the distance. So you go from 0 to 700 miles an hour, halfway, and then the rest of the way, you're slowing down. What is happening to that energy that's slowing you down? It's charging the battery. It's recharging the battery. So that means it's not going to take a lot of fuel to do this. Battery's being recharged. Plus there's a little bit of air that's being pushed forward. Where's that air going to go? It's going to go back to help push the train going the opposite direction. And the train that's going the opposite direction, that air that's being pushed is helping push your train. So almost no energy is going to be lost. This is important stuff. It's going to be, what Nolan told me Tuesday was, it's going to be less expensive to take the Hyperloop than it is to drive from here to LA. And it's going to go 700 miles an hour, so it's going to take 15 minutes to get here. In the future, people are going to live in Montana and commute 1 hour to work in Las Vegas. How cool would that be?
Transportation would be quicker.
Well, 700 miles an hour.
But how much?
But like,
Huh?
it depending like.
The cost is the cost to put in the system. But here's what the cost is. So the cost to put in the rail system, this Hyperloop in, from LA to here, according to Nolan is equal to the cost of the airplanes that fly from LA to here. So whatever, you take those number of airplanes that fly from here to there, back and forth to LA, that's how much it's going to cost to build this system. And once it's built, what are you not going to need a lot of? Well, you're not going to need airplanes, but also people, right? Okay, and I said, when is this going to happen? He said, I said, how was the thing? He said, it was really good. I said, well, what do you think? He said, you know what, Ed? I think it's going to happen. I said, what, 20 years? He said, 10. And it's going to happen here. This is one of the first places. They did the test here about 2 months ago. This train went from 0 to 116 miles an hour in 1.1 seconds.
That's crazy.
hopefully, yeah.
Okay? What you need to be thinking of is, this is the world you're gonna live in. Drones, self-driving cars, Hyperloop One. What are you gonna do? What's it gonna look like from the inside of this? If you're sitting in here, what's it gonna look like if you're looking out the window? Same as this.
Yeah. They gonna probably make it like that, cause it's gonna be moving too fast even.
Yeah, okay, now, self-driving cars. The average person drives 1,000 miles a month. How many miles is that per day? What's 1,000 divided by 30?
About 333.
1,000 divided by 30 is 333. It's 33 miles a day.
Oh, I was gonna say 25.
How many miles, how many hours a day do you spend driving the car?
At least
To go 33 miles?
No,
Let's say 2, okay? How many hours in a day?
More.
Okay, so what is your car doing most of the time?
Sitting.
Sitting. How many hours for the average person?
22 hours a day.
How many hours is it sitting? If you're driving 2, what's the number?
22.
22 hours. The car's sitting 22. Now somebody says to you, hey Dan, can we borrow your car? Can we rent your car from you for $300 a month? Because there's these little old ladies that want to go to church. When you're not using it, we'll pay you $300 plus gas and maintenance. Can we use your car for $300 a month?
Well, it still adds miles too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. This is a trick question.
Would you?
I would.
Okay. Don't be afraid.
no,
Who said no?
I wouldn't.
Okay, good. So we know that's not the right answer, right? Or is it the right answer?
It is.
Okay. No. So so some people won't. Some people say, no, I don't want to put any miles on my car. Why? It's going to go down in value. Wouldn't you rather have the money
Not if you don't want to sell your car.
ever?
Well,
But you're not
We're going to give you
selling
$3,600 a year to use your car. I'm going to give you $10,000 for 3 years.
okay.
just to take them to
Well, yeah.
church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Huh?
would.
I guess
Oh,
it's
you
a good
said
idea.
$100.
It's just confusing.
300.
Oh,
Well, it's confusing because we don't think this way right now, but this is the future. You got to start thinking like this. Somebody's going to say, I'll give you $300 to use your car. Most people are going to say, yeah. What are you going to do with that $300? Spend it. Most people are going to spend it.
I'd say no.
Some people are going to invest it. Other people are going to say, you know what? I have a Toyota. I have a Hyundai. My car payment is $300. They're giving me $300. My car now costs me nothing. Other people are going to say, I can trade my Hyundai in and get a BMW. Because they're going to pay me $300.
When you put it-
So my $300 plus that $300 is going to give me enough money I can drive a BMW. Who's going to do that? Or a truck?
When you put it in that last perspective, then basically your bill's 300. Then yeah, I have no problem giving you a car. Then when you
Getting-
put it in that sort of perspective.
Okay? So this is what's going to happen. We're not going to drive to the gas station anymore. You're going to get up in the morning, you're going to get in your car, it's going to say, hey, you know, like audibly, you know, like Siri or Cortana or Google, hey, you know what, it's about time for an oil change. I'm going to drop you off, and go get an oil change, go fill up with gas, I'll get a wash tube.
I'll be back.
I'm going to go to and I'll make sure to have, you know, some water, Coca-Cola or something in the ice box in the back seat for you, so when we pick you up. The Tesla cars now, they have autopilot, one of the ideas is you go to the store, you go to Walmart, you pull up in front of Walmart, you get out of the car, and the car goes and parks. Then when you get ready to come out to get in your car, you use your app and you say, come and get me. And you walk to the front of the store and your Tesla comes and gets you.
So you do that. And
They're
actually-
designed to do that. They don't do it now because it's not legal, but that's where it's gonna be. 10 years ago, you ever notice anybody texting, anybody in here playing Pokemon?
Yeah.
Pokemon. I'm not a Pokemon fan either.
Okay, I play Ingress. But anybody play Pokemon? Do you know the Pokemon
cards.
game?
Oh, you talking about the cards or the
No,
game that
the
they
app.
have now?
Yeah, the app.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And you ever see anybody else just sitting around texting, taking selfies, doing anything with their phone? All the time, right?
Yeah.
10 years ago, how many people did that?
Not at all.
Huh?
Not at all.
10 years, it was like
10 years ago,
still
that's-
brick phone or something.
Like, that's
10 years ago, how many people were doing things on their, doing apps on their smartphones?
None.
Zero, that's right. 0.0 people in the world were doing it because they didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah, triggers.
You might think this is far-fetched. I remember the very first day I sat down in a meeting and a guy pulled out his iPhone. Pulled out his iPhone. And half of the people there were, that'll never work. The glass is too big. The first time you drop it, it's over. And everybody drops their phones. Back then, everybody dropped their phones. Okay, nobody drops their phones anymore. Or if you do, you have a thing.
Okay.
Okay, so this might seem that it's way too far off in the future. It is less far off than smartphones were 5 years before smartphones came out. Because if you look at a cell phone that was 5 years before the first iPhone, it doesn't look like it's an iPhone. It doesn't look like it's almost an iPhone. They didn't even have BlackBerries 5 years before smartphones. Maybe they just were coming out, but they were very crude. Yes?
I have to leave.
We all have to leave.
Yeah, it's coming to 2 o'clock.
What?
What?
So-
Yeah, I need to keep time.